Welcome to Network Spotlight. I am your host, Mikhail. Today I'll be sitting down with Paul from Monaco Market, which is an NFT marketplace for tokenized real world collectibles. Paul and I discuss entrepreneurship, what kind of collectibles hold their value, and his passion for crypto. Enjoy this episode with Paul from Monaco Market. Hey, Paul, what's going on? I can hear
Cool.
you loud and clear. How are you?
Good, good.
What have you been up to since the last time we talked in Masari?
Since Masari, after mainnet, there was SmartCon and then New York Tech Week. And then I even went to a kind of like a Web 2, slightly Web 3 conference called Propelify. But it was pretty Web 2. There were a couple Web 3 projects there. Just trying to get a sense of one, what Web3 really looks like now. Who's building, who's investing, what are the early guys doing? And what I'm getting a sense of right now, look, I met a lot of early Bitcoin guys, early Ethereum guys, early Chainlink guys, early Matic guys. Um, and I asked these guys, you made a bunch of money with, these protocols. What are you doing? Are you looking to diversify? And the truth is, I feel like a lot of them are skittish because they feel kind of secure, even though they're down on their investments. They feel secure in these where they're looking for other opportunities, but the climate, there does seem to be a little bit of fear and uncertainty out there. And it's really just about establishing a really good product and showing that you know whatever your roadmap is, it's achievable. And I think that that's something that is really important. As a consequence, we've looked over our roadmap and kind of took a hard look and been more realistic about certain things. Like, we wanted to launch, end of this year, and we're adding a couple features. So going through that, and then we're about to finally start the audits. Finally finished all of the contracts. So there's a lot going on right now while we do some business development, and we've got some really cool new partnerships. I met the guys at Baxis, which they're literally doing basically what we're doing, but in a different space. So they're doing spirits, and they're going to start doing diamonds, which interestingly, somebody approached us a long time ago to do both of those models, but they're difficult. One, beverages, you have to have like very specific storage requirements for like wine and spirits. And with diamonds, you have to have an extremely secure vault. And, you know, we have a pretty secure vault, but when it comes to diamonds, there's a lot of funny business that sometimes happens. And I've been kind of skittish only because I know a little bit about the space. Years ago, I knew someone that would buy raw diamonds from like somewhere in Africa, and they would take them to Israel, and that's where they would cut them, and then they would end up here in America. But sometimes they come to America, they get recut, and there's all this stuff that happens, and it's really hard to really track the provenance of these diamonds once they start getting cut and recut, and all of a sudden you don't know where they're coming from. They end up in a necklace, whatever. Nobody cares anymore. So that's why like there's a real need in that space. But it's just exciting to kind of see other people mixing like the real world and digital world with NFTs and really trying to push the use cases forward. And get it out of people's minds that like NFT equals picture or NFT equals scam. So much of that has been just getting out there, seeing what people are doing, and also seeing where the money is flowing. I know that's a lot, but it's been really interesting. And I've been going to a lot more like events in New York, like at Empire DAO, really meeting a lot of really interesting folks. Uh, I was at their poker game last night, and a long time ago when I was in college, I was a poker dealer. So I ended up saying, let me just deal the cards because I can shuffle fast and I can, they were shuffling in a way where I could see cards, and I'm like, oh no. So I end up dealing, and then conveniently, I happened to win a bunch of money too. I was I won all the money.
I like how you're trying to be humble about it, but you're like, "There's really no other way to put it. I
No,
want all of it."
I went all like, basically, it was I went there for a $20, 10-cent, 20-cent game. And then they were like, "Hey, you guys want to play 1-3?" And I was like, "Oh, well, okay, maybe it's like $100 or something." I go in there. What are you buying in for? 300, 300, 300. I'm like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna play this. Okay, let's play." Um, and then at the end, I think we had like $4,000 on the table. Which again, I went there for a $20 game, and I cashed out $1,200. And everybody else either broke even or lost.
Well, I mean, I guess it's one of those, it's like a bicycle, right? Like once you learn it, you don't really forget it.
It's funny because, well, one, I wasn't trying to play aggressively. These guys, they wanted to get aggressive, especially when it was like five-handed, six-handed when we just started. People playing casual. Then all of a sudden there were like 10 people and the vibe just changed. Everyone's real serious. And then there was just a giant hand at the very end that I scooped everything. It was like three people all in, maybe, yeah, it was 1,200 in the middle. And I won, and then after that the game kind of broke because and that was only like 2.5 hours, so it was a fun opportunity. The guys I was playing with were like hedge fund guys at Empire DAO, other founders. So that was kind of cool. And again, I didn't go in there trying to be a jerk or a shark or anything. The cards just happened to fall my way,
Yeah,
you know.
there's a few things that I notice about people that are in crypto. It's they love to surf and they love to play poker.
Surf, like in
Black.
the water?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it's a thing, and it's probably because most people are working from home, right? All you need is a computer, so you can be near a body of water, and when you're so glued to the computer, what's the one place where you can be that's completely opposite? Probably in the middle of nowhere in the water, right?
Sure,
So,
sure.
and also people that are in crypto are more open-minded, a little bit more, risk adventurous. And so, look, I'm not gonna get into some murky waters, but hey, like I actually would love to learn how to surf. That's actually something but put me in a giant pool.
Can you
I
swim?
don't, what's that?
Can you swim?
Yeah, yeah, I can swim. I can do even like boogie board stuff, right? Which is like more for the kids, but I'll even hop on that, right?
Oh
With
wow.
for like the small waves. I would love to start surfing. I just can't get over the fact that something can like grab me and the board at the same time while I'm trying to, surf. So,
Have you ever like skateboarded or snowboarded?
but skateboard, yes. Snowboard, no, but I've done skiing.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think I would enjoy it, but I don't know. I don't know.
It's one of those things where I would say that snowboarding especially, it's so much fun. I learned snowboarding first and then I got pretty decent at it and then I tried skiing and then it's like you're starting over from zero and that's just not fun. Like I was like, you know what? I'd rather just have fun and snowboard and I've always wanted to try to surf, but I'm not a particularly strong swimmer. I'm okay, but not great. And you know, snowboarding is just it's super fun. I've skateboarded a little bit, so I figure I have some reasonable balance. But haven't done that. But it's a lot of fun. It's just that you better have some protective gear because the first couple days you're going to be falling a lot.
Where
You
do
know.
you go for that?
So snowboarding, the truth is, for the last better part of the last decade, I was going to Lake Tahoe, but on the East Coast, I mean, if I'm really gonna go, I'm gonna try to go to like Vermont. I'm gonna go to Killington or I'm gonna go to Jay Peak, maybe Mount Snow. There are some places closer like Camelback or Mountain Creek is nearby, but dude, it is dangerous because there's so many people on the mountains and the trails are so narrow that I just feel like somebody and there are people just sitting in the middle of the trail. So you have to dart around people. And I'm like, I'm good enough to do that now, but not always. There was a time when I almost hit people. Like I can't control myself, and it just it was unfortunate. But I definitely felt that yeah, don't go to Mountain Creek. Camelback is cool. You can go upstate to like Bel Air, Hunter Mountain. Those are pretty good. But the problem with the East Coast, it's so icy, man. So one bad spill and you don't really get hurt. You're hurting, and I have a lot of gear, helmet, elbow, knee pads. I have like the full pants that protect your thighs and tailbone and everything, right before COVID, the shutdown, I was in Lake Tahoe thinking that I was like, I'm feeling a little sick. Oh my God, I don't know what's going on. I didn't ultimately have COVID, but I thought I did for a long time. And while we were there, people were talking about this like strange illness that people were having. And it was Northern California. People aren't really taking it that seriously. They're like, oh, I don't know, it's whatever. But yeah, so that was actually the last time I went snowboarding. Literally March 2020. I was in Tahoe.
Yeah, Lake Tahoe is beautiful, but you actually bring up a interesting topic, which is the whole like pandemic thing. And I always tell people this is how I got into crypto, like doing this
Mm.
full time. Is it was the pandemic. I stepped down from traditional banking and to ask myself what's next, and had a few buddies tell me, hey, why don't you look into blockchain technology? And that's how I ended up starting that journey. But curious to know, like, what was your journey like? How did you get started in crypto?
Um, you know, so the truth is, I first learned about crypto because a friend of mine he needed to buy some study supplements from the internet. And the only form of payment that this individual was accepting was Bitcoin. And I didn't know what Bitcoin was. And we're talking 2010, probably 9 or 10, something like that. Like around, he was in college. So that's when I found out about the word and the existence. And, you bought it from somebody on the internet. And then you send it to this other person. I don't even know. And really, I didn't have my own wallet or anything. I just knew about it. But when I really got involved was in 2013 when I was running way.com in California in the Bay Area. I was part of the Silicon Valley Bitcoin Club. And what's really interesting at that time was there was this gentleman who he sold his company to Sun Microsystems or Oracle, and it was for millions of dollars. And he took half of that money at that time and he put it all in Bitcoin. And he became this evangelist. So he would say, if you create a wallet, I'll send you zero point 0.1 BTC. So I said, oh, he's giving away free Bitcoin. I'll take some Bitcoin. Now at that time, that was about $5. So I said, hey, what the hell? So I make a wallet. He sends me the Bitcoin. And then at that time, what was really popular was mining. So then I got a little mining rig. I start mining. And this is kind of cool. I was doing it from my office, so I didn't even pay for the power. And my office was so over air conditioned that it was like a little heater. It was a little loud, but my coworkers didn't have anything to say because it was under the desk and it was out of sight. And I started mining, but I fell into some beginner traps. For example, I was mining for about a month. Everything was going great. And then I found out about a new ant miner that was coming out back then. And it had so many gigahash. Like when I got started, it was like mega hash. Now I'm sure there's like terahash or more, you know. But I saw this one and it looked so cool. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy this. So then I put in the order. And it just so happens that someone from the Silicon Valley Bitcoin Club offered to buy my rig. So I said, sure. I sold it for double what I paid for it. And I had like a little bit of Bitcoin that I mined. So I said, okay, cool. I'm going to get this new rig in like a few weeks. I'm going to, it's going to be more powerful than ever. I'm really going to get going. And then I got back ordered. And I got back ordered again. And then 5 months later, I finally get it. And I was so like, that when I first got involved, it was in the summer. So by the end of the year, Bitcoin was already at like 1,000 or 1,200, something like that. And then, there were more people involved and I had it in hand. And then somebody literally offered me double what I paid for it. So I sold it. And I was just like, this thing is, it's not for me, but I would buy Bitcoin and sell Bitcoin. And I was like doubling my money, feeling like a genius not really understanding what was possible. There was no Ethereum or anything like, or at least I didn't know about it back then. It was only Bitcoin, and then I kind of fell off for a little while until my brother and my cousin started getting back into it in like 2017, and then I saw these guys. They're not very technically savvy buying this. And of course, if they're not that savvy, you know what they're going to be talking about. BitConnect. So they were telling me about BitConnect and how much money they're making. And my background's in finance. So I'm like, dude, this is a Ponzi scheme. Like, it's going to fall apart. But they're making money and making money. And I'm ignoring them and telling them, you better watch out. And they're making money for so long that I said, I got to take a second look at this. So I started to, and I got a little Bitcoin, on the way up. Um, but just like everybody else, I'm a hodler forever. I buy and I never sell, and that until the bear market when I sold. But that then evolved to me now trying to do something in the space because it does feel like it's way more mature. You can see it by the types of individuals that are in it, who's building, what are they building, and the sense of community that really is evolving to the point where you feel like this is not a fad. There are people that are leaving really significant jobs with excellent skill sets coming into the space to build what feels like the future of technology, and I'm really excited about it. So, my journey started obscurely at this random meetup in Sunnyvale, California, and now it feels like the crypto scene in New York is like so popping. It's really exciting.
Yeah, so that's the crypto side of things. What about your passion for buying and selling, and
Oh,
especially like luxury items? I mean, even then, see, you were selling mining rigs. You were excited about the fact that you doubled your profits. So tell me about that side of things. Like, how did you get started? Like, were you doing like garage sales, or like
you
what were you
know,
doing?
it's funny you say that. So I guess the first time that I got exposed to buying and selling. So, tell you a little bit about myself. I actually grew up on a farm in New York City. My family owned a property with a house, and there was like a house lot attached to it. And we would grow spinach primarily, a lot of other things also for personal use, but spinach was our cash crop. And it's in New York, so the climate is not really conducive to this, but you have about 10 weeks that you can harvest. And we do about 600 pounds a week. So everybody had a job, and my job was literally my dad would cut the spinach. I would take it from where he would cut it to my brother and sister that would wash it. And then when everything was done, I would take it with my mom to the store. And then I would watch all the numbers and make sure everything was cool. And then she got paid, and then we go home. So the buying and the selling started really young with that. And then look, when you grow up on a farm, you don't get any money. Like everything's for the greater good of the family. So you want little things. And again, I started working on the farm when I was 7 years old. 7 to 17 is when I was on the farm. And I remember being in elementary school, and they had a store there. And the store didn't have like good candies. So I thought to myself, I see an opportunity here. So I would buy the mega packs of like Snicker bars and Kit Kats and the candies that you want. And it was really just so that I could have candy, so I could sell some candy, make enough money so that then I could eat one bar a day or something like that. So I started doing that in elementary school. And then, I mean, I just love to trade. I mean, look, I was on, like back in the day, Neopets, trading things in those marketplaces, having I shared an account with my then girlfriend, and she would spend all the money, and I was like, oh my god, it's a preface for the future. So, and then really where things picked up was I was part of a company that sold political t-shirts in 2004, and I was really instrumental in scaling up the company dramatically. We had one design, and we sold about 100,000 t-shirts and 500,000 buttons in 2004. So there's no social media, but we were able to get such virality by getting a couple celebrities to wear our shirts, like at events, and it really went viral at that time. So there's that. But where the luxury stuff really started coming in, or at least like what I consider to be like investment grade items is when I got involved in sneakers. So that would have been in 2001. I had, just like the candies, I had a passion for sneakers, but I didn't have any money to buy it. So I thought, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll try to buy sneakers, sell them so I can get some money so I can get my own sneakers. So I started with sneakers in '01, but then I kind of stopped in 2005. I went to college, got out of college, and I started dealing with watches, because I was working in finance, and that's kind of what guys do. They have a nice watch. What do you have on your wrist? What do you have? Like, oh, this one's special because of this reason or that reason. Um, and oh, I bought it for this, but it's worth this now. Like all the different elements of what guys are essentially bragging about. But the truth is, it wasn't until I went to California and came back that I got into women's handbags, um, that I saw just the opportunity. Because as much as like men's watches that maybe they're a couple thousand to tens of thousands of dollars, they take a little while to sell. Louis Vuitton canvas, I've sold things within hours. I've sold things within minutes. Literally you list it and it's gone because it's so special. And uh, I also learned from doing this for years that, hey, you know what? If I didn't sell that item right away, if I held it for a year, a year and a half, maybe even longer, I could have made way more money than what I did there. So then, again, this is just from like thousands of lines and spreadsheets logging my transactions. I started seeing that these items really do go up in value if you choose the right ones. That's the most important thing. Curation is so important. It is probably of the most paramount importance because not every bag is created equal. The only bags I ever dealt with were Louis Vuitton, Chanel, and Hermes. And Chanel and Hermes are just so expensive, just like the watches, it takes so long to sell. So I really dialed in on Louis Vuitton, and that was what my bread and butter. And I've, sold thousands of bags at this point. And I really got good at establishing great relationships with the reps in the stores that were the secret sauce in helping me to acquire things. Now, it's not easy to make these connections, but I'm a really friendly guy. And I was able to have really strong relationships with 14 stores in America that, they gave me a little bit of preference. And that's how I was able to really scale things up. So, from one, just me being me and establishing these relationships, being data centric in my curation style, and then also just really choosing the right items uh helped to really propel this from a hobby to a business that was doing seven figures in revenue, with a gross margin of 20 to 30%. The money's there. And the reality is, I know on a lot of these items that I sold, the individuals that I sold them to, they made money too. So just it's really for me about making sure that the items that I have are items that people want, but more so, this is going to be a safe investment. And that was part of my pitch when I would sell these things to people. I would explain to them the investment quality. That's why education is of paramount importance when you're trying to onboard people into these spaces. So, whether it's luxury items like Louis Vuitton or, a Rolex watch, or if it's a pair of sneakers that just have some kind of nostalgia, and that's why it's so popular. You know, there's a market for a lot of these things and just identifying what the right items are. And that's what I feel like kind of brought us to Monaco Market today.
Yeah, and Monaco Market is essentially an NFT marketplace, right? Where
Mm.
you have real items that are backed by NFT, or I guess vice versa there.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, we're a little bit different than some other marketplaces that may exist right now where, there's another marketplace where I can mint an NFT for a watch, for example, and then I can make that NFT available for sale. But the problem is there's no third party verifying this. So let's just say you want to redeem your NFT, they can send you anything. Our marketplace, we go out and select the sellers. Okay. So from the beginning, there's curation across the board. We select sellers that have significant revenue streams, they have significant assortment of items, and they really understand what we're going for. This is not what is the hottest item right now. This is historically what has been a good investment. And based on that data, what will prove to be a good investment in the future? Look, there's some items that are really hot when they release and they go straight up, and then demand wanes and then they go straight down. So for us, it's about really working with those sellers to curate the right items, and then they send them to us. We do an independent third party authentication process with authenticators that we're working with that do authentications for some of the biggest companies in the world, whether it be sneakers, handbags, watches, art, memorabilia, or trading cards. And then once the item is proven to be authenticated, proven to be authentic by an independent authenticator, then we mint the NFT and make it available for sale. So we front load all the trust. And because we're vaulting the item, you can trade it knowing that the item is there. And guess what? If you don't believe me, buy an NFT and redeem it and see what happens. Because every single one of our NFTs from day one will be redeemable. There is no, oh, redemption coming soon. We've deliberately been a little bit slow about our launch because we wanted to make sure that we had all of these things in place instead of releasing something where people are going to have doubts, because there are some marketplaces out there right now that are selling physically backed NFTs, but you can't redeem them. So how do I know that like this item actually exists? Like, yes, you have pictures of it, but guess what? If you look at some of the images that I put, so I was selling on eBay, people were stealing my images and putting them on these fake websites. You can reverse image search a bunch of my images, and I had a very unique style. I used a light box, but I always made sure there were some shadows so it didn't look too professional. It looked pretty professional, but not like a stock photo, and my pictures got stolen. So I think that, again, like we all want to move toward decentralization, but in a space like this where there's so much fraud, excessive amount of fraud, especially for the types of items that we're dealing with, you have to have a body in the middle, in the beginning, just making sure that everybody, they're all good actors, from the sellers, and we're curating them to make sure they're good sellers, to the buyers that, we're going to be rolling them in droves. We already have, a couple thousand people that are ready to start participating in the marketplace, and I think that that's going to grow even bigger and bigger as we do more marketing. But so far it's really been about the sellers and the items and making sure that the business process is good, because once you get started, the box is open, there's no going back.
What's driving a lot of these users? Is it the investment appeal of it, or is it, hey, my wife needs a purse, or any other items, whether it be just hobbies, like from a behavior standpoint? Have you dove into it to
Yeah,
see?
yeah. Absolutely. So it's a great question. I think that from what we found, the user behavior is going to be some people that, let's say they've made 100x, or they're an early person in one of these tokens and they want to buy something. I know some people that have made significant amount of money in crypto, and because of kind of some punitive tax structures they have, or the uncertainty around that, they have not, divested any of their investments. They're just sitting in crypto. And you know what? Maybe they do want to diversify their portfolio. Maybe they understand that, look, there are some trading cards that you can 10x on. I did a 10x on a Shohei Otani rookie card last year, and I didn't know anything about this guy. My friend just told me buy his rookie card, and I said, "Oh, I don't really do that. Like I don't really do baseball cards." And he said, "Listen, this guy's the second coming of Babe Ruth." And I was like, all right, how much is the card? $50. So I bought 12 of them. 12, there's a few different ones. And then at the end of the season, you could sell these for like $600. And they went up to like $1,200 because he was a rookie of the year and, you know, breaking records, and, he's going to get this crazy contract and he's the future. So there are instances where you can pick up a gem and you can make a bunch of money. But just as well, I think that some of this is individuals understanding the maturity in wealth management. Like my first job out of college was in ultra high net worth wealth management at UBS, and this is individuals with $10 million and above in liquidable assets. And what I found was, as much as they have their stock portfolios and bonds and alternative assets, they had hobbies, and these were hobbies that They were collecting random things, but not just tchotchkes, things that are worth nothing. They were rare, they had value, they were trading items. And then I saw this whole other world. So I do think that some of these individuals, just like some of the early Bitcoin, early ETH, early Matic guys that I met, early Chainlink guys, they want to diversify their holdings, but they're just uncertain about what to do it. So what our platform seeks to do is to educate them. This is the watch that you want. This is the trading card. Even this handbag. You may never touch the handbag, but this is the handbag that you want to buy, you want to hold, and you want to sell, at a later time, whatever the time that may be. So even though there isn't crazy volatility, it tends to be slowly but surely a general upward trajectory. And with some items, because of the over speculation of last year, like in watches, dude, in watches, oh my God, Rolexes went straight up and they came straight down. And they're still in the process of kind of normalizing because they're over speculated. And look, the global economic situation is not so great right now. So that's another reason why, again, we're really leaning on our sellers, even some of our authenticators, and our own experience to really try to dial in and curate the right items. So whether it's an individual wanting to buy something as a trophy, like, hey, I want to have something and they want to redeem it and they want that watch on their wrist, or they just want to buy something that, you know what, this is not going to go down 50%. You know, it may not go up double, but maybe I'll get a little 10% return this year. And let me tell you, some of the look, as much as the handbags, the watches got affected, handbags have not been affected in the same way, not in the least. Trading cards are still pretty good. I would say sneakers, it's tricky because with sneakers, they're re-releasing things sometimes. So something that might have been really hot, boom, it's a retro, and all of a sudden the value starts to get hurt. So that's why it's really important for us to pick special things that are not coming out again. For example, the Virgil Abloh Air Force Ones. Our intention is to have a few pairs of, one of those 47 different colorways that they have, because those are never coming out again. Not a chance. So if you have one of those in an investment quality, unworn, original box, receipt, everything, all the paperwork, third party authentication, you should feel confident that this item is going to be something that you can expect to go up in value because of scarcity, because of significance. Louis Vuitton and Nike having this historical collaboration, Virgil, it being one of the last things he designed before he passed away. All of these elements are things that sometimes people don't understand. All they do is they see a pair of sneakers, but there's so much more behind it. And that's really what we're seeking to do, to curate, to educate, and then make it easy for people to trade.
Yeah, because I know that a lot of these luxury brands, they don't necessarily maintain their value. And I was always curious, is it just because the quality isn't quite there? But it makes sense that if you have those items relaunched, then that diminishes the value.
So, with some luxury brands, there isn't a lot of investment quality. Why? Because they're too available. There isn't enough of a strong demand. With Louis Vuitton as an example, you would think, oh, those $10,000 bags are the ones you want to invest in. But the truth is, it's not. Louis Vuitton is an example. The canvas bags, the coated canvas, the ones with the monogram, the ones with the damier azur, that's the checkerboard patterns, or the damier bean. Those are the ones that are accessible in terms of price point, but they're always sold out. So you have to go in the secondary market in order to get it. And those are the ones that a lot of girls know about, and that tends to be the ones that really have the most volume. So in our instance, as much as I want to have a one of one ostrich speedy from Louis Vuitton that costs $80,000, I don't know about that. I'd rather have, you know, literally like a bum bag that retails for, or a Matisse that retails for 2,200, that's reselling for 2,900, and I promise you within a year it's going to be reselling over 3,000, because they keep increasing the price and it's always scarce. These items are always sold out. You cannot get them in the store. To walk in and see it there, not a chance. Why? Because there's guys like me buying them from the back. They never make it to the front of the store. When they're coming in, they're getting on the phone with me and it's sold already. So that's why, like, again, there's such strong demand. And I think a lot of that's also the heritage of the brands. Louis Vuitton is hundreds of years old. Hermes is, oh my God, it's impossible to get their bags. Like, you charm these representatives and they're unbothered, go in there with coffee or take them to lunch and they don't care. Nothing works. I haven't had a lot of success with Hermes in terms of cultivating good reps, but with Louis Vuitton, I was able to get really good reps, and also I can get all the other stuff too. But the truth is, most of Gucci, YSL, Miu Miu, all these brands, they don't really have investment quality. Dior, when they first released that saddlebag, it was reselling for double. I think it was like 14 or 1700, reselling for like 2000 something dollars, and then they raised the price like crazy to catch up. So Dior, some of the bags are like, you won't lose your money, but I don't know if you're going to experience like a big, rate of return on your investment. So, and you hear that I talk a lot about the handbags because I was so heavily focused on them, that you really need to dial in. And it's really about access. Like, if anybody out there is thinking about doing what I'm doing, it's tough. You're better off going to Monaco Market and getting one of our NFTs, buying it at a great price. And then again, we deal with the storage for you. You can sell it right back on the marketplace or redeem it and we'll have it sent to you. It's really about making sure that you have the right items and you can safely get them. That's another thing. Sometimes you buy things and people scam you. I was just a web 2 seller and I'm dealing with scams. And I can only imagine the amount of scams are going to happen in web 3 with immutable transactions and a lot of shady characters. You need good actors looking in the best interests of the individuals that want to procure these items.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. It's hard to find people that you can actually trust in crypto and also with luxury brands. When you look at the crypto market, you look at the stock market, real
Mhm.
estate, everything's slowing down. What's it like
Yes.
on the luxury item front?
So
Is
it
it
really
they count
depends
that
on,
bottom?
you know what? With some of the watches, no, 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 no. I'll tell you that right now. Some of these watches, I want to put them on our marketplace because I actually do believe they're great long term investments. But you look like, we're going to be integrating some third party charts, and I'm looking at these data points. And a lot of crypto investors like to read the charts. These charts are rough. If you're looking at just the last year, some of these are rough. But if you're looking at it, let's say 5 years, it looks a lot better. But again, so much of this is because of over speculation last year. And then combining it with all the shutdowns in China that really kind of helped to push down rates, the global, the war in Ukraine, the global economic crisis that's essentially going on right now. Um, there's definitely a correction in some of the spaces like watches, and then also in some of the markets are hyper speculative, like fine art. It's the one space that I would say I've had the most difficulty nailing down kind of the right items because there isn't a lot of records sometimes. Like somebody will have a record of provenance. Oh, we got this. We're talking to a seller right now that has really amazing ancient artifacts. Like we're talking like a spear from Macedonia, a helmet from Babylon, or ancient hieroglyphs. Like first of all, I asked them like, how did you get this stuff, and why is it not like in those places? And they said, oh, we have records for everything. And then I asked them like, oh, could you tell me like what was this last sold for? Could you tell me the last two sales? Oh, well, we don't really release a lot of that information. So how am I supposed to now know if the price that you're trying to sell it to me for is a good price or not? And there's so much muddiness in the water that's why fine art is kind of challenging. And that's another reason why I do believe that what we're doing, providing this data, providing this transparency, is what's going to lend itself to people to want to participate in these kinds of markets. But look, trading cards, strong as ever. Sneakers, strong as ever. If anything, those markets are growing. And then handbags are very much as strong as ever. Memorabilia, very strong. It's really, I feel like the watch space is really the one that I kind of hammered the most. Uh, because again, it feels like a lot of finance guys were kind of getting into it, especially when they're probably the guys that already have these watches, and now they're seeing, oh my god, I can buy this for 10,000 and I can sell it for 25. Oh, I can buy this. I had an opportunity in 2008 to buy a Patek Philippe Nautilus for $80,000 directly from Patek. I didn't have the heart to spend $80,000, on a watch. That same watch got up to $320,000, and in 3 years, I could not have dreamed that, like, in a million years, but it has come down significantly since then. It's under 200 now, I believe. I think that's the last thing that I saw. So, there's massive corrections in some of these spaces, and I just don't think that, you know, the behavior of like handbags, unless you're talking about Hermes. Hermes is a different animal where, the baseline you're spending is 15 grand. It goes all the way up to there's $1 million bags. We're going to have some of those Birkins on the platform, but we're trying to, one, find the right ones, find a wide assortment so that, if you got 10, 15 grand, you can get something. But also, I mean, let's say you're a whale and you got 100, 200 grand, Birkins, they're providing 20% returns, year over year in terms of value. And the demand is only getting stronger. You got guys like Kanye giving them to his girlfriends, like, oh my God. So they're becoming more and more popularized, more and more normalized. More and more people are knowing about it. So you have this influx of capital of individuals that want to buy it, increasing the demand. It's going to only increase the pricing. So, look, as long as you're careful about what you're getting, pay attention to the data, that's going to be very important. And we're going to do our best to illustrate that on the marketplace so that when you're choosing whatever you want to buy, whether it's sheet music from Beethoven or if it's a Charizard holographic card, you're going to know that this is special, and we're going to tell you why and try to provide some insights into the price history of where this has gone, and then you can make your own decision. It's just about diversifying your portfolio and maybe including some NFTs in your wallet that aren't going to maybe go down 90%, because it's so new and there isn't a lot of history behind it. There's some of these NFT projects that they shoot up, they come back down, and then they never recover. In these instances, some of these items have come down a bit, but they're gonna recover. These brands are historical. They're significant, they're important, and the demand is just too strong for, despite what's going on, when things get better, they'll go back up, just as strong as before.
But I'm surprised to hear you say that some of these items haven't even been affected when you look at
Hmm.
the Fed and how they're trying to increase the rates to make us less rich. You would think that that's one area where they would want to have a big impact. Items that not necessarily are mandatory but more luxury. Do you feel like that's what it's going to take in order for the economy to recover?
I think it comes down to the different classes of items, right? So just like I talked about that like $80,000 ostrich bag that might be a one of one, that bag is not going to have as many people trying to buy it. But I'm telling you, like at the lower points, you know, like in handbags, sub $3,000, there's still a lot of people that want these items. So I think it's really about following the demand and understand that even though a lot of people are hurting, people still, during the pandemic, when March hit, my sales started really going way down to where at one point I was selling multiple items a day to one item in multiple days. And then I had a stretch where I sold nothing. And then out of nowhere, right around the time the first stimulus happened, people started going for like this retail therapy. And I sold so much out of nowhere. Boom, just like that. So I'm telling you that, like, even though some people are hurting, the demand is still somewhat psychological, where people are like, oh, retail therapy is a real thing. And depending on who your audience is, you have guys that are never stop loving certain things. And I think that's a big part of this. A lot of our items, the community is fueled by a love of the items. That, hey, I want this Pokemon card because when I was in the seventh grade, one of my friends had it and I couldn't have it, and I never got it from any of the packs that I opened up, but now I can have it, and it's just nostalgia. It's a For some people it's a trophy just to say that I made it, and for some people that's a gold watch. For some people it could be a trading card. Whatever it is. You have someone like my own brother that has signed football memorabilia of his favorite players. Whether it's a jersey or football or basketball. It's what's important to you. And I think that that's one of the most important things, to make sure that uh, we are curating with our users in mind. That's the most important thing. Make sure that, while I could tell you that, oh, this is something that you want and this is something that's really cool, you've got to tell the story in a way where people really understand that and they're really bought into it. So, yeah, the interest rates are going higher. I think there's going to be a softening in the real estate market, but I don't think that that's going to have as strong an impact in the collectible space, because it's passion that drives this. It's love. And I think that people, they just feel it's worth it. It's worth it to me. And as long as you're driving the demand, you're creating that emotional connection, which these brands are really good at doing that. Some of these watches, they're a sign of success that I made it. The bags, 100%. I see how these girls are, that like I've been saving for a while. This is the thing. And then just the same, I see the values, and then I started selling to men that were just literally buying them to hold them for a while, to inevitably sell them and just essentially just act as a speculator. So I feel like as we're able to increase access to these items, you bring in new people, driving up the demand, increasing liquidity, it's going to increase the value. That's why I feel like sneakers went up so much. More people just started learning about it and being passionate about it and being encouraged. The internet is the great thing that brought us all together. It removed all these borders, and I think that blockchain solutions are going to further to drive that, where you're not going to have these, like borders aren't going to pay as big of an impact anymore. We're going to be able to interact with people across the world without so many barriers. If I'm trying to send money to someone, oh, what service am I going to use? Or, oh my god, what's the fee going to be, the foreign transfer fee? Or does Venmo work in that country? you know in our situations, if you have a crypto wallet and we can send tokens, it's so simple. And I think that that's removing barriers is how we move forward.
Yeah, and I know we're approaching the end here, but I gotta ask, can you name a time when you had your most interesting sale?
My most interesting sale across all categories of all the things that I've ever sold. My most interesting sale. You know, I would probably say my most surprising sale was when, again, I was really good at getting really cool with these reps. You know, I'm never going to name names, but certain individuals would send me, you know, internal catalogs so I could see what was coming out before the runway show, and I could place orders. And legit, I would have things the day after the fashion show, I would have them already like ordered and being sent to me. So some of these things, depending on what it is, I would like put up like a stock image for like a really high price and see if anybody would buy, in conjunction with all of my other listings. And as soon as I got the item in hand, I take images and replace those images. Fashion File, this huge company, that I didn't even know. I just thought that all they did was just have people come to them and they would buy their items. They approached me to buy some of my items because I had a really good assortment of items. I always had the hot stuff. And I just thought that was so interesting that they took notice of me and my collection, and they bought quite a number of things from me. Now, granted, it was during a time when, you know, uh, it was after COVID, they were hurting really bad, and they were starting to ramp up their sales again. So I could see where the market was going. That was another thing that gave me confidence that despite that hiccup that happened with COVID, we were able to move forward and the demand came back stronger than ever. So selling to Fashion File was really, really interesting. And also, I got cool with one of their buyers. So I got to understand how their business works outside of that. So I thought that was really interesting. I mean, I could tell you that I've sold to some celebrities and that was cool, but it's like you sell to them and then, maybe they come back in the future. But selling to that business, this huge business that I just thought was like larger than life, was something very interesting to me and made it seem that, maybe we're not so different. You're looking for something for your users that I have, and I have access that maybe what I have, maybe what I can do is more special than even what I realize. And it gave me confidence, in what I was doing, how I was curating, because these giant companies were coming for my items and wanted to know what else do you have, and then they bought more. You know, so I think that was a pretty exciting time. I have since reached out to them again, and now that the markets are better, they're like lowballing, so it's all good. But that was a really impactful experience, I would say, for me. But there's nothing. I'll say one thing. When one of your favorite basketball players, their wives are buying, or an actor that their wives are buying, that's pretty cool. So that was interesting. I met some NBA players as a result of this. Actually, I had so Louis Vuitton had a collaboration with the NBA, and I had like a backpack and the duffel bag, the keep all, and I sold both of them to NBA players, which was so weird. Like, how do they not have access to this stuff? They're in the NBA, but I had it and they wanted it. So yeah.
Awesome. It kind of goes to show that it's really important to have those really strong relationships with
Mhm.
the the wholesalers or as
No, it's the it's
purchase.
it's the it's the retailers in the store. It's the sales
Re-
reps. There is no wholesale. I'm buying this for retail, but the reason why I'm able to make money is because you cannot buy it for retail. You've got to pay whatever the secondary market is. So that's really where it is. So at there, Louis Vuitton does not wholesale to anybody. Just as a point of notice, there is no outlet store. At the end of the year, if they don't sell something and it's damaged or unsaleable, they tear it up, they grind them up and burn them. Okay, so just like B&B does a buyback and burn, so does Louis Vuitton.
I was going to say that's a perfect analogy.
Yes,
Sure. Right.
yes.
What's next for Monaco Market?
So we are currently about to enter our auditing and penetration testing phase. Then once that is completed, we're targeting, it's looking like a very early Q1 launch. We're also bringing on some additional sellers. As we're bringing on sellers, other sellers are finding out about us and then they want to participate. So then there's a vetting process, and we're expanding the team. We may be going out to maybe raise some capital to kind of, just accelerate things a little bit more. But we're looking at that more toward next year. But things are very exciting. I'm collaborating with other projects that are doing something very similar to us, and just seeing what they're doing. Because, as competitive as I am, and I'm a little bit competitive, I also really enjoy working with people and helping everyone along. And I think that that's how you build a successful people, with people, not fighting with everyone else. And also learning from the experience of your competitors. I have noticed what some of our competitors are doing wrong. I've seen what some of them are doing right, and you learn those lessons and try to implement them on our platform. So, in the meantime, we're having contests in our Discord where you can win collect coin. We're having AMAs in the Telegram, and I'm going to be on some Twitter Spaces. Just really trying to spread the gospel of what Monaco Market is doing, and hopefully, it inspires more projects to pop up just like ours, because I don't mind competition. I welcome it. I want to see how collectively we can push things forward, because this doesn't have to be a winner takes all game. We can all rise to the top together. I truly believe that.
I can definitely tell like how passionate you are about not only crypto but this industry that you're in with these luxury items and how much fun you're having. Collaborating and talking and negotiating, like all these different things that go into it. So really excited to see where you guys go next. Where can people learn more about Monaco Market?
So I would say check us out on monacomarket.co. We are actually doing a complete redesign of the Monaco Market website, um, that will likely launch prior to the actual launch of the marketplace. That's monacomarket.co. Follow us on Twitter at Monaco Market, or Instagram, The Monaco Market. And join our Telegram at CLCT Coin. It's the utility token of Monaco Market. And feel free to drop us a line. I'm in the chat. I just noticed someone is there asking where I am. So after this, I'm gonna pop in there and just say, someone's saying, "Where's Paul?" I'll say, "Paul's right here." I generally have an iPad that's just streaming the chat, and I'm always looking. These projects are built on the basis of the community and the people that really kind of back them. So I honor and respect and try to really give time to the community, because without them, we're nobody, going nowhere.
It's really great to see how hands on you are with the community and not losing sight of that.
Of
So
course.
great to
It's
see.
tough. It's tough. It's not easy, especially with like all the calls and, trying to really build the business. But again, everyone needs a little bit of attention, and you just want to make sure that no one feels forgotten about, because again, collectively, that's how we're going to really build this, expand this, and ultimately, kind of make crypto and blockchain solutions more accessible for everyone and safe. This is really about safety, security, and maturity of the marketplace, in general. So I'm really excited to delve into that and see where the innovations lie.
Awesome. Paul, thanks so much for your time. And I'll catch you in New York, okay?
Absolutely. Mikhail, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to see you. Thank you so much.